How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There is something interesting going on. The money printers are coming back in about 24 hours. I know how everyone loves when I say that we have about 24 hours, so I figured this is a good time to use it because we do have a lot of buybacks coming here from the federal government in the next 24 hours, tomorrow. We also have some interesting news about Japan having an emergency meeting, essentially. We have some other companies buying Bitcoin, some other entities. So let's go through all that. If you don't mind, well, even if you do mind, please hit the like button underneath the video. Hit the subscribe button as well. So that way this gets pushed out to more people and so that you can see future videos just like this. If you want to trade crypto, there is a link to Margex underneath the video. There you can short the market if you think it's going down. You can long the market if you think it's going to go up. You can go from 5x leverage to 100x leverage. You can use all different forms of collateral. You don't need a VPN, and you also don't need to KYC. You can check out this link underneath the video, along with links to CoinW and to Blowfin. Let's start here. Bitcoin's price, 54,700, coming down a little bit since we hit 56,000 last night, but still massive bounce from the low of about 49,000. So that overall looks really good. A lot of alts are up significantly from the bottom as well. Look at this. Bank of Japan to hold emergency meeting to discuss international financial markets. This is coming from Reuters. Now look at this. Okay, Japan seeks to calm markets' nerves after stock price fluctuations. Apparently, Japanese leaders rushed on Tuesday to assuage concerns about the sharp swings in the country's financial markets, with the prime minister urging calm and senior finance officials convening an emergency meeting to discuss the global stock market sell-off. So, yeah, the country's top currency diplomat emphasizing close coordination between the government and the central bank. The government and the Bank of Japan agreed that it is important to monitor developments in economic and financial markets, domestic and abroad, with a sense of urgency while calmly assessing what is happening. They did this last on March 27 this year, following a sharp decline in the value of the yen. Okay, so they're basically, circuit breakers are going off on the bottom side, on the upside. If you look at the stock market over in Japan, it went down 12%, then went back up 10% on this news. There's a lot of volatility, and that's not good necessarily. And when a whole market falls 12%, this isn't like just risk assets or just like a risk asset. This is the whole index. So, yeah, emergency meeting being called, and yeah, the fear came over here too, extreme fear with Bitcoin at 55,000. We also have news. Let's move over here. Starting tomorrow, the U.S. Treasury will begin buying back up to $46 billion worth of outstanding government securities by the end of October, primarily to provide liquidity support. So, yeah, they're going to just come out and buy 4 billion, 2 billion, 500 million, 2 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, 4 billion, just adding a lot of liquidity to the system. And this is just one of the ways that they provide liquidity. We're talking about maybe even an emergency Fed meeting for the U.S. We're talking about other forms of, again, quantitative easing. They seem like they're definitely going to lower rates in the September meeting. It's just a question of whether they do it before then as well. Metaplanet announces to raise 10.08 billion yen to buy more Bitcoin. Now, what is that the equivalent to? Let me know if you know down below in the comments. All right, that's enough time. $70 million. They're going to buy $70 million. They're not the only company. Yesterday, we talked about how Semler Scientific just bought another $6 million worth of Bitcoin, and they filed to raise another $150 million. So there are companies taking advantage of this. We know MicroStrategy also has announced that they're going to buy up to $2 billion. I would not be surprised if they're buying right now, if they're buying a significant amount right now. And let's see if Mr. 100 has as well. 2103. Yeah, he has bought even more. Another 200. 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. This is a significant amount of buying. I mean, yesterday, 1,850 Bitcoin. Today, already 800 Bitcoin. If you don't see what's happening, I don't think you're even paying attention. When we see dips like this, we're seeing the big whales, Mr. 100, and I saw a lot of people talk about how this is an exchange. This is not normal exchange action, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it would not make a lot of sense, and a lot of the exchanges are already doxed. I guess it could be, but it just doesn't look normal. This is pretty much just a heavy stacker. I would assume a sovereign wealth fund or some wealthy individual like Michael Dell who's buying, and $6 million a couple times a day isn't really much to them when they're worth 100 billion. But back to the broader picture. We see global uncertainty. We see issues and fighting and all these things in the short term, dumping from 5 different entities, just dumping huge amounts of Bitcoin to get cash out. But what's happening long term? Well, we're turning into a world that you can trust middlemen less. I'd say there's more people trying to get at your money than ever before. There are people trying to hack you. There are people trying to get your personal information. Governments are overreaching. There are more global conflicts. So Bitcoin really is an answer to a lot of that. That's just the broad picture. But also, if you just look at what's happening in the economic cycle, we're moving into a time of higher liquidity after such a contraction recently over the last year and a half or so. M2 is starting to move up. Rates are coming down. It makes sense to go with something that's a little bit higher risk, higher reward, like Bitcoin, price-wise. So we have all that happening, and we have so many big entities buying. I mean, even yesterday, BlackRock did not sell a penny of Bitcoin. We covered that last night. There's maybe some interesting things happening there so that they don't sell any Bitcoin. Go watch that video if you want. But then we have companies taking out debt to buy Bitcoin. This is not a low interest rate environment either, but yet they can get their hands on cheap debt. They can issue shares, but they're going to buy more Bitcoin. A handful of companies are doing this and swallowing up a lot of the available supply. The ETFs are swallowing up a lot. Mr. 100 swallowing up a lot. So the big entities that are cash rich are going and buying a lot of Bitcoin. They don't necessarily care the price, whether we're at 65,000 or 50,000, they're accumulating. I mean, sometimes they do take a little bit off the table, but this is basically nothing. This is nothing to Mr. 100. 2,000 Bitcoin when they hold 70,000 Bitcoin, that's a 2 or 3% shed of the Bitcoin. So yeah, they're accumulating. That is the end goal for these entities, and they're doing a good job of it because a lot of people are selling, so they're being able to buy at lower prices. I just think you want to pay attention to what the big money's doing, not necessarily what they're saying all the time. So it will be interesting, especially with the end of summer coming, with interest rates coming down here soon. It'll be interesting to see what Bitcoin does along with some of these other risk assets that we like talking about, Ethereum, Solana, etc. Let me know your thoughts underneath the video. If you're bullish and you want to go place a leverage trade, there's a link down to Margex. Make sure you know what you're doing. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Bye.